Is AI going to take away your job? Last night, Andrej Karpathy, one of the founders of OpenAI, the guy who coined the term vibe coding, and just an absolute genius, posted a public GitHub repo and associated website, which everybody started interpreting as determining every profession's susceptibility to elimination by AI. Even Elon Musk chimed in and said, all jobs will be optional, there will be universal high income. Simultaneously, a bunch of economists saw this and immediately started pushing back. Now, within hours, Karpathy deleted both his GitHub repo and the website. But what was exactly on the website? How did he put it together? Why did he put it up in the first place? And who's right? The people reacting and saying, fuck, my job is going away? Or the economists who are saying, it's not really that big of a deal? Now, I'm an economist and I teach hundreds of people in my school server and through YouTube how to get to the cutting edge of agentic coding. So in this video, I'm going to explain what exactly happened here, how Andrej put together this website, and whether you should believe the economists, the Twitter mob, Elon Musk, and what your takeaways should be. Now, as I said, Karpathy took down this website, but one of the guys who posted one of the original tweets about it, this fellow Josh Kale, forked the repo and made his own website. So you can go here to joshkale.github.io/jobs, and you can see that we basically have stratified by profession in this tree map, an indication of AI exposure by profession. So we have programmers here who are more exposed, and you can see their median pay, outlook, and education. We have top executives, food and beverage serving, and the size of a box here tells you just how many jobs are contained in that category. So cashiers, there's 3.2 million jobs. They have an AI exposure of 7 out of 10. Bookkeeping, accounting, and auditing clerks, they're at 9 out of 10, and so on and so forth. This tweet got 3 million views, and he basically says, if your whole job happens on a screen, you're cooked. Average score across all jobs is 5.3 out of 10. Software devs, 8 to 9. Roofers, 0 to 1. So very sorry, software developers, you better start reskilling right now. And we got this guy, Duca, also known as Big Duca, saying, very cool. Also, we're fucked. I'm guessing Duca is not a roofer. So what exactly is in this code anyway? First thing, we see that there's a few contributors here. There's this guy, Josh Kale, but then it's built with Claude Code by Andrej Karpathy. So this is something that he vibe coded relatively quickly. In fact, we just see over here this initial commit. And I want to take a look at some of these scripts. The first one I want to look at is scrape.py, because that's going to tell us what the underlying data is, which is in here. So he's scraping a BLS occupational outbook handbook detail page. So what are those pages? Well, you come over here to the BLS website, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and then you can click through to some of these pages where you get the 2024 median pay, what entry-level education looks like, a summary of that job and occupation, and a little picture. So what Karpathy is doing at a first stage in this sort of off-the-cuff exercise that he's put together is just scraping all of this data with this Python code from Claude Code. Then he's got a few files here that he's using to parse and process those scraped HTML files. But then what he does next is creates a CSV summary of all the occupations from the scraped HTML files, which he writes out to occupations.csv. So let's go take a look at what that is. So here we can see it. It's just every single occupation that's in that BLS occupational dataset. And here we've got the same thing in JSON format. So he's doing something with this. But where does the whole AI exposure stuff come in? That all happens here in score.py. So what does score.py do? It scores each occupation's AI exposure using an LLM via OpenRouter. It reads markdown descriptions from pages, sends each to an LLM with a scoring rubric, and collects structured scores. Results are cached incrementally to scores.json so the script can be resumed if interrupted. So let's take a look. He's using Gemini 3 Flash Preview, which is a pretty like weak model. And then the system prompt here says you are an expert analyst evaluating how exposed different occupations are to AI. You will be given a detailed description of an occupation from the BLS. Rate the occupation's overall AI exposure on a scale of 0 to 10. So he's got like a description here of what determines whether it's going to be AI exposed. And so a key signal is whether the job's work is fundamentally digital. Something important that we're getting at here is that this definition in this prompt is saying nothing about whether it's going to be eliminated. All it's just asking is, how do the current things that are involved in the job interact with the things that AI can do? And also, something that you sort of notice is that he's already like anchoring a lot what should be the scores for a lot of these professions. So, like, if you see nurse in the BLS, then what this model is going to do is just pin it to a 4 or 5, right? Because here he's already given as an example registered nurse for something that has moderate exposure, and he's already pinning down by default software developer as having very high exposure. And then what you get as a final result is something like this. But people basically went crazy with this. They thought that this was an actual, like, highly cutting edge methodological thing that Andrej had put together and not just some vibe coded side project. And this is exactly what he said. It's a Saturday morning, 2-hour vibe coded project inspired by a book he's reading. Thought it might be helpful to others, but it's been wildly misinterpreted. And so instead, you had guys like this who made an Indonesian version, which I guess he's still deving. That means he's still working on this. And this fellow who made a Canadian version. So everybody's, trying to engagement bait a little bit and get on this wagon. The main point, which was made most succinctly by Alex Imas, a professor at the University of Chicago, is that exposure does not mean threat of displacement. It can literally mean the opposite. AI exposed jobs may increase hiring and attract higher wages. So one of the points here is that the way that technology interacts with a profession can be very subtle. It's not obvious all the time whether a particular technology is going to be labor substituting or labor complementing. So, for example, with computer programmers, many of you who are watching, if AI takes away a lot of things that computer programmers need to do, but the demand for software increases because of the new possibilities, it may be the case that computer programmer employment goes up. And so here we have Kevin Bryan, who's a professor at the University of Toronto, who bets $1,000 that from now to 2030, most susceptible jobs see increased share of labor. In the models these types of charts are based on, it is explicitly not AI can substitute, but AI is related. Who doesn't want to code right now? And that's probably you guys watching this right now. And so here we have Aaron Levie, who's the CEO of Box, a competitor to Dropbox, making a similar point. And before AI, if you had a mid-sized company, it took 50 engineers to make something. And so they're not going to do it at all because they can't afford 50 engineers, so they just hire 0 engineers and they don't start the project. But now AI agents might make certain initiatives a 10 engineer problem. And this middling company can afford to hire 10 engineers. And so that just means that every aspect of what we do in our lives, everything that you touch, every interaction that we have may now become something that small engineering teams can tackle. And the aggregate effects of this may very well be that we have more software developers in 2030 than we do now. Now, this lady, Eleanor Berger, made a good point, I thought, about predictions in general, which is that all these predictions never put actual money on it, so they're not time-bound. And then making a time-bound prediction is a lot harder than just direction. So you and I both know that by the time we die, there's probably not going to be a need for computer programmers anymore. But that's a lot different than what could occur in a year, in 5 years, and 10 years. And you can't just sit around and do nothing because you know that in 100 years, there's not going to be any need for computer programmers. And even then, like, who knows? The types of skills that computer programmers have may change or may be adapted in different ways to some kind of higher level architectural thinking. And I don't really know what the full extent of AI is. That's not my expertise. But it's definitely the case that taking some throwaway diagram like this and investing a lot more into it than is there is just very silly. So I hope you guys found this little change of pace to be useful, interesting, edifying. I want to make more content that's kind of at the intersection of econ and AI, since that's kind of the space that I'm in, to show you some of the good public work that a lot of economists are doing in the AI space, but which can also inform your own thinking of where you want to place yourself as a professional in the agentic coding space or just in life altogether. Also, as always, if you want to learn agentic coding from the best, who is me, yours truly, of course, who is better than me? I'm the best. I'm the absolute best. That's my attempt at a Trump impression that kind of went into shitty Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway, if you want to learn from the best, join my school server, the AI MBA. We have hundreds of people getting to the cutting edge of agentic coding, academics, business professionals, students, vibe coders, everybody. The link's down in the description below. Hope to see you guys there. Peace.